With the president and general manager of the Hamilton Bulldogs, Steve Staios. It's Reed Duthie once again. And Steve, first of all, congratulations on another successful draft.
Thank you.
Now, as we look back at the draft board, before we get to that, you made a trade in the lead-up to the draft to pick up an 8th-round selection. Now, that kind of goes under the radar, and I wanted to ask you, why did you feel that the Bulldogs needed a selection in that spot?
The way that we saw the draft, Reed, was that there was going to be a grouping of mostly defensemen in that range that we feel have upside and that we wanted to take a shot at getting. So that extra pick, we thought would come in handy, and it did. We felt like the grouping of defensemen was deep from kind of rounds 3 on, and again, saw some players, especially on the back end, that really started to progress as the year went on, and that really intrigued us.
How did you feel about the 06 class overall? Because they kind of got stuck with the COVID shutdowns at one time at a tough point in their development. We've seen it with the 04s and 05s as well, making their way into the league. But this group now getting their opportunity to step up. How'd you feel about it in total?
Well, in saying that, that's one of the reasons why we were looking at progression, especially late in the season. You don't know the exact effect of that COVID year for a lot of these athletes. Some of them had the ability to train, and some of them had access to ice still and some practice time, and some of them didn't. So we found that a topic of conversation leading into it. But I thought it was a deep draft. I did. I don't know. If there was as much real star power, with all due respect, I think these players will, and again, maybe COVID had a little bit to do with that in their development, but no, really pleased with the draft. I think we accomplished what we were looking to do.
Was there a bit of a sense of momentum coming into this draft for the Bulldogs? You've seen great contributions from your 03s, your 04s, especially your 05s, 7 from the previous draft, maybe more than you were expecting at first, but have already contributed this season for the Bulldogs. Was there a bit of a wave riding in?
I guess each draft's a little bit different. I can't really. I don't know if there's any momentum that we can take from last year's draft, but I got the best scouting staff in the league. They know their areas, they know their guys. We have very healthy conversation, debate right through the draft. Even, we have our list, but we also have great conversation at the right time if guys really like their players. So, no, really, really pleased. Great to have everybody back together again after doing it by Zoom for a couple of years.
It was fun to be here and actually get to hear some of the conversations and some of the opinions. Dave Gray popped in my office a couple of times, very excited about some of the players that were selected. And speaking of excited about players selected, Merrick Van Acker, 23rd overall. This is a young man, to me, reminded me a lot of Ryan Winterton right off the bat. And one of the first things he said to me was how much he really puts into his 200-foot game. Now, you get a goal scorer who puts up big numbers that's telling you, I really focus on my 200-foot game. That's got to be a dream for coaches and general managers.
Yeah, very, very mature game for a young player. I think he takes a lot of pride in it. He talked a lot about that, about being good on both sides of the puck. The kid can score. He's got great pace. Every one of these players, Reed, will need to work on all aspects of their game. But for Merrick, it just seems like he's checked all the boxes, and now he can kind of grow from there. There's not anything glaring that we would look at that he'd have to work on. He's a terrific young man, great family, high character kid, and he's a Bulldog. He checks all the boxes, and he plays with some grit and toughness as well.
He was already excited to be wearing the black and gold just from Delhi, so local flavor, knows the team, knows the franchise, knows what the Bulldogs are looking for, and he seemed like he's going to fit right in.
Yeah, no, we're really excited about him. He's he's got leadership qualities as well, so he checks all the boxes for us, and I guess every general manager says that. You have him on a list and you're waiting, and we were pleased that he got to our pick. I mean, being the top seed this year and picking late, and then the compensation picks, you never know. But no, we were very pleased to be able to. Dave Gray was very pleased to be able to announce his name.
Yeah, that was fantastic to see Dave do that again. And again, he was very excited about the class. One of the ones he popped into my office specifically to talk about was Mason Ray, your number 49 overall pick. Did Mason fly a little bit under the radar playing in the North?
Oh, I would say so. Yeah, I mean, he came down to the OHL Cup, and I thought he was just terrific. But some family pedigree, some hockey pedigree with his dad playing and now coaching in our league. But more so just, he's got great pace, and he's got great skill, and he's got a real passion for the game. And he's a determined young man, and I think he's very versatile. He can play the wing, he can play center, he can play in all situations. We're really excited about the upside of this prospect. I think you're right, Reed. You tend to fly under the radar. Being up north, and the competition on a nightly basis maybe isn't as strong as it is in our area here. And so I think having him in our environment and watching him continue to develop with that determination and the skill set is very exciting.
You get into the last pick of the third round, and Callum Shinowski, and a player that you kind of look at the history of the Bulldogs: Ben Gleason, Cade Landry, Nathan Staios, Gavin White, Lucas Moore, maybe Callum Shinowski, the next name in that line?
Oh, I believe that for sure. I mean, I think he's a very, very solid defenseman, great IQ, really good feet and puck ability. I got to see him play some junior B games as the season went on, and not only did he not look out of place, he was actually, driving play in those games, and had no problem playing against the older players already. So really a nice prospect. Again, we were Chris Whalen's area, so when we picked Mason Ray, with that first third round pick, we were again surprised that Callum was there, and we're kind of holding our breath to see if he would be there with that pick. So that certainly balanced out our top three picks really nicely. But terrific young man, great family, and just a real solid player all around.
Now, the 60s have really paid off in recent times for the Bulldogs. And you look at Shinowski in this draft, 66 the last 2 years, Lucas Moore and Noah Van Vliet, who both made big impacts this season. To open up the second day, you get David Igorov with the 64th pick. Big, talented goaltender. He had a .926 save percentage this year, Steve. That's outstanding for a 16-year-old playing in a U18 loop.
Yeah, high-end goaltending prospect. I mean, it's as early as we've stepped up on a goaltender in a draft, but I think, David really has, he has it all, and really excited to see him. We watched a little bit of him on video, and then got to see him live, and he's a determined young man, and you can tell he's got, and I'm not a goaltending guru by any means, but I can tell just the presence that he had in the games that I watched, his, the way he went about his business. It was really exciting for me. Hand that over to Nick Granger to be able to watch and get out to see him play and watch him on video. And he's a talented goaltender, and I think he's got a really bright future. And we liked him as good as any goaltender in this draft for sure. And we're excited about watching his progression.
And you say earliest the Bulldogs have stepped up on a goaltender. That means drafted in a slot higher than Marco Costantini or Matteo Drolback. And look at the year those two guys just had. Yeah,
no doubt. No, it's again, these goaltenders with this talent continue to push each other, and we certainly feel very strongly about our goaltending depth.
Fifth and sixth round, you pick up a couple of middlemen, Ethan Fascia, Daniel Vasic, two guys that I got some text messages after the picks were announced that people were saying very under the radar. Steals was a word that was heavily used on both these guys. Two centermen you got to be excited about, and Fascia continuing a trend of Bulldogs with the Elgin Middlesex Chiefs, Navrin Mutter, Noah Nelson, Noah Vandenbrink. It seems like there's a bit of a pipeline going on there.
Well, yeah, it's a great minor hockey organization developing good, strong players. Trevor Gallant got the scout. He's their scout in that area, but also coached Ethan Fascia, and is just over the moon about him and his character and his leadership, and his ability to play up in the lineup. Really, I mean, with the skill set that he has, we're excited about that. And Fascia, again, a goal scorer that sort of slid and maybe under the radar a little bit, but I think that there's some real talent at those picks that typically it drops off. But that's what I talked about with the depth in this draft. We got some players with some real ability, deeper into the draft, which we're very excited about.
Now, if Callum Shinowski is the lightning on the back end, Graydon Finch and Henry Attard might be the thunder. Two big physical defensemen that the Bulldogs are able to jump on in the 7th and 8th rounds. That's the kind of player that may be looking to add into the organizational mix with a couple of good defensive prospects that can fly up and down the rink, and a guy like a Shinowski or a Lucas Moore that's an 05?
Yeah, for sure. But both those players, Reed, were ones that, especially the last part of the year, continued to just, get better. Finch in particular, real good movements, good athletic abilities, and moves pucks up. Really an all-round type of guy. And Attard continued to get better as the year went on, and brings a physical element. Like he's a highly competitive young man, and in some of the big games, I think he really stepped up for his team.
You go to Daniel Berehowski, the first American pick taken for the Bulldogs in this draft in the 9th round. Obviously, the bloodlines are there. His father was a number 1 overall pick in the OHL. Played, I think, 13 years in the National Hockey League. Drake Berehowski. Daniel, a skilled centerman with Honeybake, legendary program in Michigan. What did you see in Daniel, and how happy were you to be able to get a player with that kind of skill, even with questions around which way he's going to go to the next level at that pick?
Yeah, he was the best talent up front at that pick. There are some questions for sure. He has some options, but the kid can score flat out. I mean, he's got great IQ, great offensive ability, and we continue to do what we do with our program, and hopefully it's the right choice for him, because I just think there's a great upside, and I think the Ontario Hockey League is the right spot for him. I can see the trajectory coming quicker for him, and so we'd love to have him up here. We'll see how the summer goes, and hopefully get him up here to camp. But real offensive talent.
It's working out for a couple other good offensive talents from Michigan, and Avery Hayes and Ryan Humphrey. So
right, you got it.
There's the connection. Anthony Stewart, who's been a good friend of the Hamilton Bulldogs, is with us for the outdoor showcase. You get Tyrone fevery from his Toronto Junior Red Wings. This young man, built like a fire hydrant. I mean, that is a physical presence, and he's a great goal scorer and produces big numbers. That seemed to me like a big steal in the 11th round.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think Tyrone has, the ability to score from distance. He's got strength. He's got power. He's very fast, he knows it. We've talked to him, and Anthony Stewart's a great mentor and coach for him. But we can round out his game. I think that there's just more to this player than we saw this year, and maybe why he slipped. But man, I think the talent level is there. Definitely high character young man, determined, passionate about the game. So yeah, we were, I think our fans are going to get a real, excitement factor out of Tyrone, because of the way that he plays and his pace and his ability to score goals.
He seems built to play in Hamilton to me. That's just the way it looks, the way he plays the game. He's going to take this fan base by storm.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's he is certainly comes with some flash. I mean, with his pace and his ability, and he's got a really heavy shot. So yeah, looking forward to watching him develop. You
talk about high character and guys from Hamilton that have gone late in the draft, whether you look at a Braden O'Keefe that played for the Junior Bulldogs, or a Mark Duarte, Clark Dunford, maybe the next one in that line of guys. Getting to meet him on draft day, what a great young kid. And he produced big numbers with the Junior Bulldogs. Obviously, a 13th round pick, he's going to have some fighting to do to make his way onto the team. But if there's a kid that's got the guts to do it, I think it might be Clark Dunford.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, he's got the determination, character, all-round game, work ethic for sure. It never leaves you wanting more. So, we have a lot of good players. The one thing that we tell all of our players, though, even if you look at our roster right now, as you know, Reed, there's players that we draft in the 5th, 6th, 8th, 14th round that make our team. So I never want anybody to get discouraged by where they get picked, and I want our top picks to know that there's competition, and it only makes everybody better, and I think all these players that want to develop into pro hockey players, this is their first real taste of it, getting into a situation where they have to continue to develop and be on their game and keep their fitness levels up. So, but certainly Clark's right in the mix for us as he develops as well.
Thomas Dickey for the Carrollton Place Canadians. A lot of folks, again, playing in that U18 loop out Ottawa way, that's given us Jorian Donovan, now David Igorov. What can fans in Hamilton know about Thomas Dickey that they may not know? Obviously, not a lot of viewings for fans of the Bulldogs to that HEO loop.
IQ. Yeah, smart player. I mean, a little bit underdeveloped right now, but I think that he's going to be a kid that, you know, Patrick Thomas, Braden O'Keefe, all these players, I think we really like the hockey sense on this young man.
And in the 15th round, 2 picks, Jensen Howe, a towering goaltender out of the Toronto Titans, and Noah Lapointe, obviously the bloodlines there. His father, Marty Lapointe, that won 2 Stanley Cups and had all kinds of accomplishments in the National Hockey League. Noah Lapointe's got some options. Jensen Howe, an interesting prospect, didn't get a lot of game time this last year, but he looks like that prototypical goaltender.
Yeah, another good goaltending prospect. Again, I credit our scouting staff and Nick Granger once they start taking a look at these guys, and they can gauge, especially Nick can really gauge their talent levels and where they are in their development path. And Howe is somebody that we had in that sort of that first grouping of goaltenders. So, it was tough to pass up when we saw his name still on the board, even though we have good goaltending depth. We just thought that it would be, he's a great prospect, and again, adds to the depth and length of prospects in our goaltending pool.
And how excited would you be if the Bulldogs were able to get Noah Lapointe to come up to Hamilton?
Well, yeah, top end, talent for sure. But we know he has options, and maybe we have to be patient. But I just think with some of these American players, Reed, if the trajectory is on the right path and it's the right thing for them, then it makes a lot of sense. And we sort of present that to them. We're not great at sort of pushing or convincing. We want what's best for the athlete long term as well. And obviously with Noah's dad, Marty, being fully involved in sport or hockey and understanding the development path, I think they'll make the right decision one way or another, and we're hoping it's Hamilton.
That would be fantastic. 14 new Bulldogs. Steve, I know there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Obviously, the Bulldogs' second round of the playoffs. Now we know it'll be the Mississauga Steelheads. But how excited are you for development camp to see some of these guys on the ice and get a good look at them and starting their careers with the Bulldogs?
Yeah, really excited to see that first moment where they come in and they put a Bulldog jersey on and get out with their peers at development camp, and then some of them will roll right into main camp, as you know. And for our scouts, it's the fruits of their labor, right? Yeah. They get to see them all on the ice at the same time, and we'll surround them like we do. We want to surround them in the right environment and give them all the tools to be successful.
Obviously, we don't want to rush anything here, but we saw how competitive training camp was last year with double cohort of rookies coming in, some great veterans that have had wonderful years coming back. Is this year's training camp going to be as or more competitive because maybe not as many spots open and you got, some 05, some 04s, now the 06 is stepping in. Seems like there's going to be a lot of talent fighting for maybe not a ton of roster spots depending on who signs and who's back.
I think that's a fair comment. I think, or a fair assessment on it. We, when we went this way in the build in 2018, we didn't have as many prospects coming in or returning players. This year's different for sure. So it'll be extremely competitive. I wouldn't put it past some of these 16-year-olds to really make a strong impression and push myself and the coaching staff to give them an opportunity. And to me, that's the makeup of this draft more than anything. I think there's a great deal of determination from these young men, and we're looking forward to it.
It just gets better and better to be a Bulldog. Steve, your last thoughts on this year's new additions?
Just that. I think great balance through the draft. I need to thank my scouting staff who worked so hard. But really excited about this group, and I think it's just going to continue to push the guys that are ahead of them and the veterans, and really looking forward to just getting camp going with these guys on the ice and watching them develop. I
have never seen a scouting staff that works as hard as the guys for the Hamilton Bulldogs. They did a great job once again. Another tremendous draft class as we wrap up our coverage of the 2022 OHL Purdy Selection Draft. And thanks, Steve, for your time as always. And I think we got playoffs to get ready for now this week.
Let's go.
Here we go again.